Hello and welcome to another Stamp with Amy K Facebook Live video. And I'm just out here on my Facebook page, just making sure that I'm live where I should be, and hopefully it looks like I am. So just pulling it up so I can see comments and things. And if anyone is joining me live, feel free to say hello. I appreciate you being here and I appreciate you watching. Also appreciate you being here, watching the replay too. So that's just awesome. No matter when you check out the video, I'm happy to have you here. All right, so today we are going to make a fun little card with the Festive Post stamp set. And the coordinating, what is it? It is the Postage, rectangular postage stamp punch. And I knew I was going to forget it. I should have written it down. So, hey, Karen and Bree and Debbie and Beth and Nancy, thanks so much for joining today. I appreciate you all being here. So this is the card we're making today, and it's a little bit different than a typical card for me. Normally mine are pretty clean and simple. This was for a sketch challenge, and so the layout was definitely a little challenging for me. This is just not one that I normally typically would make, but I was pretty happy with the way that it turned out. So. All right, hey Danette and Kathy, I appreciate you guys stopping in to say hello. So, and all right, so let's get going on the card. All right, so again, this is the card we're going to be making today. So I used some fun products on it. The paper from the background, or paper on the background, is from the Most Wonderful Time product medley, which is a carryover item that was actually in the last holiday catalog, and they brought it back in this holiday catalog. So definitely it's a beautiful papers. There's a coordinating stamp set, there are dies, there are embellishments. It's a whole huge product suite essentially, but it's all in a little bundle together, and it's very nice. So so again, this is in the new mini catalog. It was in the last one too. So hey Catherine, thanks so much, I appreciate that. This is a new stamp set from the mini catalog, from the August to December 2020 mini catalog, and it is called Festive Post. And it's got some cute little images in it, some good sentiments in it, and it coordinates the images in here, like the rectangular ones, this one, this one, this one, and this one, the brooms, this one does as well. Everything coordinates with the rectangular postage stamp punch, which is one of the new punches from the annual catalog. So it's nice. That one is actually bundled with a stamp set in the annual catalog. And it's nice that it actually coordinates with one of the stamp sets from the mini catalog as well. So those are two of the items that we're going to be using today. Let me set a few of those aside. And then I also pulled out, just because it's fun, the Festive Corners stamp set, which again is one that is in the new mini catalog as well. And it's got some really fun sentiments. I mean, obviously some Christmas ones, there are Valentine sentiments, there are Halloween sentiments in here. And I love these that go around the corner. So very cool. And check out the spider web that hangs around the corner too. So definitely some good images and sentiments. And both of these, I forgot to say on the other one, both of these are photopolymer stamp sets, so they're pretty easy to stamp with as well. Hey Barbara, thanks for joining today. And then the last stamp set that I used is actually Cherish the Season, which is another one from the mini catalog. And the only thing that I used was the sentiment for the inside of the card from this one. And I love that Stampin' Up! Is doing a lot more stamp sets that have images for the insides of the cards as well. One last thing that I used on this is I used one of the scalloped scalloped rectangles, goodness, from the Stitched So Sweetly dies, and I actually used that, and I'll show you in a minute how I cut it out, and then I actually trimmed it down with the same die, so I'll show you in a minute how I did that. So I'm going to set that aside so we are ready to go with that as well. A couple of things that I wanted to remind you about before we get rolling on this, because I know I always forget. We have an Inking Crew, which is our team, has a Facebook Live event happening on Saturday, October 3rd, which is World Card Making Day. We did this last year, so if you were around last year, you'll want to come back again this year. It was a fun event. We kind of stamped all day long. Hey, Shelly, thanks for hopping in. So we stamped all day long and presented. It just had a good time, had some little giveaways, and so it was just a fun day to make and share cards. So I'm definitely glad that we are going to be doing that again. It's Saturday, October 3rd, so it's coming up in about, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, something like that, from 9 a.m. Eastern time until 9 p.m. Eastern time. And we've got people scheduled pretty much every hour to either present or share a video of a card making presentation. So it should be a fun day. Hopefully you'll be able to join us. I will be setting up the Facebook page for this soon, and I'll be posting it out on my Facebook page as well as on my blog. It'll be on my team's Facebook pages and blogs. So definitely be looking for that. We'll be opening it up for people to start joining on the 28th of September. So it should be right before we get rolling with the event. So, hey, Sandy, thanks for hopping in. I'm glad you're here as well. So let me know if you have questions on that, and hopefully you'll be able to join us for that day. Otherwise, if you can't join on that day, we definitely will leave the group open, so you'll be able to come back and watch later if you'd prefer as well. All right, last thing, and I swear I'll get started on the card. Stampin' Up! Has the Get and Go Starter Kit promotion going on for the month of September. If you are interested in joining as a demonstrator, it's a great time to join. So normally your starter kit is $99 and you pay applicable taxes, but it ships for free, and you get to choose $125 worth of whatever it is that you would like for Stampin' Up! Merchandise. So anything that's in the current catalogs. So that's the normal starter kit, and you get that still this month. But in addition to that, Stampin' Up! Is giving you 16 card-based card kits and a stamp set, the Queen Anne's Lace stamp set, the So Much Love stamp set, and a pack of rhinestones, so that you've got some awesome cards that you can jump right in. They've got instructions to tell you how to put everything together, and even some videos. So super easy. So if you wanted to jump in and try this as a business, you can use these as card kits for your first class. Or if you would prefer, you can just stamp them and have an awesome stash of stuff, and then be a demonstrator and get the 20% discount and get to join us at the Stampin' Up! Events and all the other fun stuff that we do. So, all right, let me know if you have questions on that. I'd love to have you join the team if you are interested. So again, just drop me a note if you have any questions or want to know more about it. So, hey, Wanda, I'm glad you're here as well. All right, we are starting with a soft suede card base. And I have this one cut to 4 1/4 by 11 and scored at 5 1/2. This card front will work the same if you have your standard book fold card, which is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored at 4 1/4. It's the same exact card front size. So nothing different about it, just the different fold is all. I prefer the top fold to the side fold cards, but that's just my personal preference. So next up, I have got a piece of the Most Wonderful Time Designer Series paper, and it is from the Most Wonderful Time product medley. And the really awesome thing is they actually have a refill. So if you don't love the stamp set and dies that are with it and all that stuff, they have a refill that just has the paper and the embellishments and that sort of thing from it. So go check that out. It's like $28 for the paper pack and all the other goodies, the embellishments that come with that. So definitely a good set of stuff. All right, this is a piece of the designer paper from that pack, and I'm sure you can probably see it, but it is gold foiled. So it's beautiful paper and in pretty, whoops, I grabbed the wrong seal. I keep grabbing this Seal Plus. I need to put that somewhere else on my desk, so I stopped grabbing that. So got some Stampin' Seal here that I'm going to be using to adhere this. This piece of paper is cut to 3 5/8 by 4 7/8, and I'm adhering it to a piece of old olive cardstock that's cut to 3 3/4 by 5. And again, all the details will be posted out on my blog tomorrow with the cardstock cuts. So because I generally say them wrong in the videos, I start talking and then I say all kinds of craziness. So whatever's posted on my blog is what's for real. So I always warn you of that. If you're listening, you may want to double check the sizes tomorrow. This is another piece from that same Most Wonderful Time Designer Series paper pack. And this one is cut to 2 inches by 4 inches. And we're just going to go ahead and adhere that to the Designer Series paper panel that I've already put together here on the background. And no special placement, just trying to make sure that it's straight across the top. That's the main thing. And it should line up then evenly along the edge. So we should be good to go with that. Next up, I've got some of the Gold Hoops Embellishments is the name of these. That's the full official name of them. And they're really pretty and really easy to adhere to the card front, just with a couple of glue dots. It's the designer paper, Catherine. It's beautiful paper. You definitely need to check it out. If you haven't seen it before, go look. It's towards the front of the mini catalog, and it's in with all the kits and things, so it's up front. And you know, a lot of times people kind of skip past the front and the back of the catalog, so don't skip over that. You'll definitely want to take a look at it. All right, so I've added a couple of glue dots here, and I'm going to add a glue dot onto the other side once I kind of know where it lands on the card front, because I don't want the glue dots to stick out underneath I don't want a glue dot sticking out like right there or anything weird. So I will put a glue dot up under here now that I know where it's going to land on the card, just to help hold it a little bit more securely in place. So they're really easy to stick down. The only thing is you obviously need to make sure you're layering something over the top to kind of hide your glue dots with it as well. So you missed that designer paper. It's really pretty, Karen. Definitely go check it out. So, all right, next up, we are going to do a little bit of stamping, and I've got some crumb cake cardstock, and here's the deer image from the Festive Post stamp set, and a little soft suede ink that we're going to be using to stamp with today. So I'm just going to ink up the little deer. Make sure I've got them pretty well covered here. And as you can see, this is where where I did the other one earlier, my sample card. Just going to give this a second to hold it down and make sure that I got a relatively decent image, which it looks like I did. And close up my ink pad before I stick my fingers in it, which I know I've done that many times on my videos as well. And then we've got the rectangular postage stamp punch, and I finally got all the words to come out in the right order on that one. I don't know why I'm struggling so much with that punch name, but I am. And I'm going to go ahead and punch the deer, just line it up in here and do a quick punch of that. And set that aside then. Next up, I have got some real red ink, and this is it's like the little postage cancellation image that they normally would put on a stamp, so it's designed to look like that. And again, this is from the Festive Post stamp set, and it's the product medley, and we can't get it. You can get it separately. Actually, there's a full product medley that's got the stamps and the dies and everything with it, and then they have what they call the product medley refill, which just has the paper and embellishments. Go check it out. They're two separate items in the catalog. I don't know the item numbers or anything, but I know that they're both in there because I saw them in the online store actually earlier today. So I'm just going to do a little stamping here. Try not to stamp it over the deer's backside. That's the main thing. All right, and it's real red ink if I forgot to say that already. I don't know if I did or didn't say that. And then next up, I have got the Whisper White craft ink, which my ink pad is really, really, really old. So it does look a little bit, you need to get yours out from last year and see how much you have of them. The paper is really good. I've used a ton of the paper. So mine is a really old style craft ink pad. I know that they have updated them. Mine's really ancient, but it still works the same. And I'm just going to ink up the little, I think these are stars or snowflakes. I don't even know for sure what they're supposed to be. I'm calling them snow, but I don't know if they're supposed to be stars or snow or what they are exactly. But like I said, it's my card. I'm calling it snow. So, so that worked for me. One thing to know about the craft ink is if you have not used it before, it does stay wet for a second longer. So you'll kind of want to set it aside and let it dry for a minute before you do too much touching on it and that sort of thing. All right, so I told you I have got the one die cut with the Stitch So Sweetly. I cut this from soft suede cardstock. And refill, yes, the refill is new this year. So, yep, it was not there last year, but it is this year. And it was a happy find when I did find it. I'm like, woo! So that's the best part, is being able to get those papers. So, all right. I can't even remember what I was saying. Stitch So Sweetly is what I used for the background die cut. And as you can see, this rectangle cut quite a bit longer than what I really wanted it to be. I wanted it to look like a layer underneath here. So what I did to cut it down is I basically took my die that I had used and sort of placed it over here, generally where I knew that I wanted it to be cut off at. And then you can feel, because it's stitched and scalloped, you can sort of feel there's a little notch when you get it slid into the right spot so that your stitches and your scallops will be lined up. Just feel on the back of it, slide it until it kind of catches in the stitched area. And then we're going to take it and run it through the die cutting machine. We're going to roll it about that far through and then back it back out, and it's just going to cut the end of this off. If all goes well, cut the end of it off straight, and then we'll have a smaller die cut. So hold on a second. Let me show you quickly how I'm going to set this up. So I've got it here on my magnetic platform, and I'm going to cover it up, and I'm going to carefully carry it over to my die cutting machine. And again, I'm going to roll it about that far through and then back it back out. I would bring my die cutting machine in, but it'll be big and up in your face if I do that, because the camera is down kind of low so you can see what I'm doing. So Again, I just rolled it about halfway through, and then I'm going to back it back out. And if I did everything right, this piece should come off the bottom, which, it did. And then I'm left with a smaller die cut. So anytime you've got a rectangle, particularly the stitched ones, if you want it to be cut a little bit smaller, or a square or anything like that where it's got a straight edge on it, that's one little trick that you can use. It's really easy to line those stitches and the scallops up, just because all you have to do is kind of feel from the back, and you can cut it down to whatever size you need it to be. So that is just a nice little trick to know when you are working with your die cutting machine, and any of the dies that you want, if you want it, because sometimes they just need to be a little bit smaller, and then they'd be perfect. So, all right. Looks like your ink pad. Okay, yeah. My crafting pad is like 100 years old. It's back from when I very first started stamping, which is kind of a long time ago. All right, so I'm going to use a little Stampin' seal, and I'm going to adhere the die cut and the little punched image together. And if I've cut it reasonably, it should fit on here with a decent little layer. Which is, again, that's the look that I was going for. Was I just wanted a little sort of scalloped layer underneath the postage stamp image. And then I'm going to take this and adhere it to the card front with a couple Stampin' dimensionals. Hopefully you all are having a fantastic Tuesday. Gosh, the week has been flying by already. It's been been one of those weeks where all of a sudden it's like 1:30. I'm going, I haven't even taken a shower yet. I better hurry and run through the shower while I'm before I got to go do my video. So, it's just one of those days. Things like that happen at my house quite frequently. All right, so next up, I'm just going to adhere this down to the card front with the Stampin' dimensionals that I put on the back. And I was careful when I put the dimensionals on it to make sure that I had them up in the corners and not stuck in the middle where the little hoop is going to be at, because it would leave a big bump underneath it if you try to adhere those together like that. All right, the next thing that I'm going to do is, this is also part of the product medley, the refill product medley. These are the sticker sheets, and I actually tucked a couple of the little die cut stickers underneath my deer, yes, my deer image, my reindeer, I guess I can call it my deer image. So I'll put a couple of those up underneath. Just to give it a little bit something extra. I thought it looked a little plain without anything tucked under it, so I thought those added a nice little touch. And they're super easy because they're all pre-cut, pre-colored. All you have to do is peel them off and stick them, which is awesome in my book. All right, let me get the scraps out of the way. Next up, I'm going to stamp the sentiment on here. This is 3/4 of an inch long and a 1/2 inch wide, and I have got the Banner's Pick-a-Punch, which I know there's a terrible glare on it. We're going to be using the banner end of it, and if you don't have this punch yet, it actually is designed to do 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, or 1 inch punches of a banner. So it's got a banner end, and then it's got the opposite of a banner end, which would be the pointy end, I guess, if that makes sense. We're going to be using the banner end on this one. So it's pretty easy to use. You just slide your cardstock straight to the back until it hits the end of it, and then you punch it, and then you take your cardstock back out, and then you've got a nice little banner punched on the end of it. It also works great if you wanted to stick it in and make it a banner punch on both ends. For this card, I didn't necessarily want to do that, but if you do want to do that, it's a really great punch to have. We are going to do a little stamping, again, in real red ink, and the stamp set is the Festive Corners stamp set that I'm using, and it's got the Mary, which is kind of the long, narrow Mary. So something else you need to get. So yes, most definitely. It is beautiful outside today, Karen. I actually had to put, well, I didn't have to, but I did send a jacket in with my younger daughter to school today because it was just cool enough that I thought that probably, if they went out for recess or did anything outside, I was afraid she'd be too cold in her short sleeves. So, but that's my kind of weather. I definitely like that. All right, so we'll see. Hopefully I got it fairly straight on here, which looks to me, it's reasonably straight. I got it a little closer to the one side than I wanted, but it's good enough. I'm not going to redo it at this point. So, all right, so we've got that stamped on here, and then we're going to take a couple Stampin' dimensionals. And again, I'm going to be careful of where I place the dimensionals because I want to make sure that I don't end up with them underneath the hoop part of it. So I'm going to take a couple Stampin' dimensionals and put one up towards the top. and then one kind of a little bit closer to the middle. And we should be good on placement of those. So it just hit 68. Yeah, I knew it was only, that high was only supposed to be 68 at our house today. And I assumed it was probably pretty similar for you. But all right, so then I'm going to line this up again, making sure that I'm covering my glue dot that I've got down here, and lining it up hopefully with the top and making it somewhat straight. I feel like I want this to be, I'm going to go up a little bit higher. All right, and I think I've got it straight. And if I don't, or if you do mess up anything with Stampin' Dimensionals, one thing to know is you can take your snips and go right in between and snip it like that, and it cuts the dimensional in half. You can take your pieces apart, and then you just kind of roll the dimensionals off the backing and start over again with adhering it. I've done that tons and tons of times. So that's my quick fix with dimensionals. If you try to pull it apart like that, you'll probably rip whatever it is that you are stamping or whatever it is you're adhering. But if you use the little snip thing where you take your snips and slide it between the two layers, that's a nice little trick to have in your book, because if you're like me and stick things on crazy crooked, it's nice to know how to get them back apart again. So, all right, then we are just going to adhere this to the card front with a couple Stampin' Dimensionals. And again, if you've watched my videos, you know I cut my dimensionals in half. There's always controversy about whether we should or shouldn't do that. I prefer the half-size ones just because I do. So if you don't like them, you can use the full-size ones. They all stick the same way. All right, the card front is done. Now we just have a little bit of stamping to do on the inside, and we will be all done with the card. I kept it pretty simple on the inside, just have real red ink, and this is a sentiment from the Cherish the Season stamp set, which that I did kind of go a little crazy on. I'm like, 3 stamp sets? That's kind of, you know, I try not to do that, but sometimes you just have to. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and try to get this lined up straight, which is always a little challenging. And if not, there's always the other side, and I think I did it reasonably straight today, so. All right, then I've got a little bit of the leftover designer paper that I trimmed off from the card front, and I'm going to adhere that down on the bottom with a little bit of Stampin' Seal. This is cut to about 5/8 of an inch, and I think it's about 6 inches long at this point, but I will be trimming it down so that it matches the card stock cut here that I've got. So Whisper White cardstock that I stamped on. That's cut to 5 1/4 by 4 inches, so it should fit perfectly inside my card base. I'm going to use a little bit of Stampin' Seal again. Whoop, there we go, on the back of this to adhere it to the inside. Whoop, I got a little overzealous with my Stampin' Seal, but all good. Okay. So that is the inside of the card. So super simple, just did a little piece of designer paper, stamped the sentiment, and we will call that good. So I'm going to fold this closed and do a quick crease with a bone folder and make sure everything is laying down flat and the way I want it to be. And that is it for the card share today. So as you can see, I must have stamped the deer a little bit, turned a little bit more that direction, or punched it a little bit more that direction on this one. So we ended up with a little different placement on it, but I think it still works. And so that's my card share for today. So thank you, Marcel. I appreciate that. And Diane, thanks for hopping in as well. I didn't see you here until just now, so thanks for joining today. Glad that you liked my card. All the details, again, will be posted out on my blog tomorrow, which is stampwithamyk.com if you are not a subscriber. And I will plan to be back on my YouTube channel live at 2 o'clock Eastern Time on Friday, and then back live here again at 2 o'clock Eastern Time on next week, Tuesday. So thanks so much for joining. Hey, Debbie, I just see that you're here as well. And Nancy, thank you very much. And Kathy, I appreciate it. Or Catherine, I appreciate it. And Tanya, so nice to see you all here today, and I appreciate you joining. And I will chat with you all soon.